Welcome to Bodcast, the Business of Dentistry podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Bodcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bodcast. My name's Fern from Practice Plan, and today I'm really thrilled to be joined by Natalie Bradley.
Hi, Fern.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Just to start with then, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So I am a consultant in special care dentistry and the clinical director for Dentaid, the dental charity. I'm also the chair of the British Dental Association's Young Dentist Committee. And I also sit on one of the managed clinical networks for special care dentistry in London. So yeah, quite busy. Very busy.
And actually, when I was asking my colleague to help with some questions to ask you, one of the questions was, how do you have time to sleep? Because of all the things you do. So that's crazy. But today, anyway, we're going to talk more about the Young Dentist Committee. So really, to start with then, what is the aim of the committee?
So the aim is to make sure that young dentists or early careers dentists' voices are represented within the British Dental Association so that we can represent their voices and their views and experiences across political systems, across meetings with bodies such as the GDC, the HEE, and to make sure that the organisation of the BDA is staying relevant to the issues of younger dentists and actually, campaigning for things on their behalf, like for example recently a lot of campaigning working with the BDA in terms of striking for junior doctors, which includes junior dentists as well who work in hospitals, so things like that.
Gosh, okay, so how did you become involved in that then?
So the committee has a 2 to 3 year turnover in terms of the members who sit on the committee. You have to be elected to sit on the committee. I was on the committee in the previous triennium, and then this triennium I'm chair. So I did a year working, doing a fellowship with the Office of the Chief Dental Officer, which was a job which was very different, one of the most different jobs I've ever had in terms of as a dentist sitting in an office, doing kind of a leadership role that wasn't seeing patients. It was the other side of the table, sitting with decision makers within the NHS. And actually I really enjoyed that role of having the insight behind why decisions are made, why is it that the contract is like it is, how can you influence change, and I thought the next step to that would be getting involved in dental politics as part of the BDA, and that's why initially I got involved, and actually I can see the value of being involved in such a committee to make sure that your voice is heard, and actually the believing that your voice is important, because I think it's quite difficult as a younger dentist to be sitting at a meeting where people have got 20, 30, 40 years of experience in a field, and you're sitting there with sort of imposter syndrome, why am I sitting here? But actually your view as the next generation of where dentistry is going to be is actually really, really important, and you should have a voice at that table.
Definitely. And you mentioned some of the things there, but what are kind of some things you get involved with then?
So as part of the committee we have our meetings where we will be feeding back into the main body of the BDA about the issues that we're facing, linking the committees together so that we have young dentists sitting across all BDA committees. So we have different committees depending on the practice that general practice committee, a community dentist committee, a hospital committee, ones in developed nations as well. And so you're all coming together to really discuss and flag and highlight the issues surrounding what it's like working as a young dentist, and that could be fed back into the main board of the BDA so they're well informed when they are going to meetings with CopDend or HEE or whoever it might be about this is the experience. We also do things like running events and webinars. I also get asked quite a lot to do media things as part of BDA, I think because I'm a younger person and probably because I'm female as well.
Yeah.
That looks quite good. Or there's a specific ask or want from people who are contacting the BDA about, I did an article that was fairly recently I did a different podcast with somebody on Newsround or something like that.
Okay.
So kind of like the younger They want to know what's going on in dentistry, because dentistry is so much in the media at the moment.
Yeah.
So they are getting lots of media requests, and so sometimes we're helping around with that as well.
Wow, brilliant. So no day is the same then, I'm guessing.
No, and then sometimes it is, logging in at 6:30 in the morning so that so that you're on BBC Radio 4 or something random.
Wow, that's so cool. So you have sort of covered it there, but why is there a committee specifically for young dentists, and are their needs like really different from dentists who have been qualified for longer?
I think it's really important there is a voice, a representation for the young dentists, so that the organisation stays relevant. And I think that's true across various organisations within dentistry, and the importance of making sure that there are younger voices, or voices at earlier stages in their career, because actually what someone might think works for dentistry after 30 or 40 years things are very different for the person that's just leaving dental school. In terms of what their training is like, the environment, the pressures. Social media didn't exist for people 34 years ago. So it is really important that we have a voice and a seat at the table across the different realms, because if you're somebody who's graduating and starting to work in general practice, that's quite different for someone who's worked in practice for 30, 40 years, about to leave their career. So, and if the views aren't heard, then the organisation is just going to die a death with a certain generation of people.
Yeah, definitely. So is there anything that sort of stands out for you, or any particular achievements that you've made as part of the committee that stand out to you?
I think a lot of are feeding in recently with the junior doctor strikes, and that's a lot of work actually we've been doing alongside the BMA, to support people who want to strike because of the pay disputes. We've recently, which has been a lot of the work which the Hospital Dental Committee has also been doing with the young dentist representations, is actually increasing the salary points for people who are still training in hospital, which amounts to about £14,000 worth of pay increase for certain dental hospital trainees. So it's things take time though. Change takes a long time in the NHS. But I think those are some of the things that we're really proud as members of the committee to move along. Also feeding into the BDA have recently started something called a Future Leaders programme, where dental students are being invited to various committees and events at the BDA to try and encourage people to understand what the BDA does as an organisation at the stage where they're leaving dental school, because I don't think I really understand what the BDA was when I was a student, apart from you got a journal through the post every so often. So actually we had a few of those members coming to our meeting, which I'm really been glad that we were able to host and accommodate as well.
Oh, brilliant. And how has being a committee member then, has it benefited you personally at being a young dentist?
I think it really has, because one, I have to chair and organise meetings, which is a skill in itself, and I think everyone probably can recall a time they've gone to a meeting where there's been a bad chair, like someone who's not been able to chair a meeting very well. And you think, oh, it's a meeting, surely they can. But actually, when you're that person who's having to control what's going on in the meeting, and there's people going off on tangents, and you've got to keep to time, and someone's coming at this time because they've got to leave at this time, things like that, your time management, your organisation, making sure you actually agenda items. How many agenda items can you have in a 3-hour meeting? Like, I didn't know that until I started organising these meetings.
Wow.
And actually, I really understand the organisation of the British Dental Association much more now after sitting on this committee and being chair, because I know who the staff members are, what their roles are, actually see all the hard work they do behind the scenes, that people may say, what does BDA do for me? I don't see what they're doing. But actually, when you're interacting with these people as part of a committee member or chair, you do see how much hard work goes into the fact that now dentistry is in the media so much, and it's not just coincidence. That takes a lot of hard work, and get people like the MP who came to speak earlier on in the show. That's not just a random do you fancy like coming? It's like someone who in the staff office of the BDA has been hounding the office of that MP to really take listen, and they're here because they are hounded from all sides now because of dentistry being a real political issue. But that has taken years of work to get to this point.
Wow. Well, brilliant. Finally then, how would you encourage other young dentists to get involved with the committee?
So we will be coming to the end of our current committee at the end of this year, so there will be new a new committee forthcoming, so please do stand for election if you'd like to be involved. Separate to that, the BDA always is looking for younger dentists to be involved as well. So there are also branch and section groups that have young dentist groups who organise events and CPD events up and down the country, might be more local, that will, very happy to get involved as well. And it also really shows you're looking beyond your life just in your practice or wherever you're working. So if you're looking for jobs or you're applying for certain roles or training jobs, if you've got, I was on this committee, I was a co-chair of this young dentist group and organised these events, it only shows you in good stead as a candidate as well. So I'm not just looking at how you're developing as an individual by the skills that you're getting outside of just working clinically, it also sets you in good stead for your CV as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, it sounds brilliant, and thank you for taking the time today to talk us through that.
Thanks.